to this video. Welcome to this channel, bro. I don't even know what I'm saying, but basically, today we'll be learning about cell theory. So, yeah, let's just get right into it, to be honest. So, let's go over the topics. We got living organisms, abiogenesis, Reddy's experiment, Louis Pasteur and his experiment, Robert Hooke, Leeuwenhoek, Schleiden and Schwann, Virchow, and modern cell theory. So, living organisms. What are the characteristics of a living organism? So they need energy to be living. They need to produce waste as well, like feces. They also have to adapt to the environment and have the ability to respond to the environment around them. They also need to reproduce and grow, and they're also made up of cells. Now let's talk about abiogenesis. So this came from Aristotle. I don't know really how to say his name, but yeah. And is also called the theory of spontaneous generation. So organisms would just appear from non-living things. So one example from before was that rats came from dirty laundry, which is absolutely like, I don't know where that came from, but that's obviously not correct. But this was actually accepted for over 2,000 years. He didn't have any experiments or scientific research to back his theory up. It was just, he just kind of said it and people just believed him, took his word for it. And now we're gonna go ahead and talk about Reddy's experiment. So he did not believe in this theory. So in 1668, he performed an experiment involving meat and maggots. And because he didn't believe that maggots appeared spontaneously from meat, that's why he did this experiment, to prove him wrong. So one of the first scientists to use an experiment to prove his hypothesis is actually Reddy. He actually backed up his statement with an experiment and proof. Now we're going to talk about Louis Pasteur and his experiment. So Louis Pasteur said that living things could only come from other living things, and he also proved the theory of biogenesis. So his experiment involved a flask, two flasks actually. So the flask he designed had an S-shaped neck like this right here, like this. And and then he filled both with broth. And then he boiled both to force out the air and kill the microbes in the flask. And then he predicted only the tipped flask, where air could reach it, would have microorganisms grow inside. And he was correct. And he also found out that there's actually microorganisms in the air that would cause this to happen. But yeah, he was correct, and so was Reddy. They were all correct. And then came the development of microscopes. And now we're going to talk about microscopes. So who's Robert Hooke? Robert Hooke was actually the first person to find out about the cells. So he observed cork under the microscope and he saw many empty chambers in the thin slices, and he was the one who actually coined the term cells because he just thought they looked like cells. So, or like little chambers. So he just named it cells. So this is 100 times under the microscope, the cork. You can see it's like you can still see all the little cells. And then this is 400 times. It's like super clear that you can see like the little chambers it has. And then we're gonna talk about Leeuwenhoek. So he made his own single lens microscope, and it's 500 times. That's pretty impressive for back then. And he was the first to observe single-celled organisms, like those pond water organisms, like these ones. And what's interesting was that he wasn't even like an actual like expert on this. He just really liked, and it was his hobby. Like microscopes were his hobby. He just liked playing with them, doing research on them, but he wasn't actually an expert. And then we're going to talk about Schleiden and Schwann. So they were actually the ones that found out about the nuclei and the nucleus. So Schleiden, who studied plant cells, saw nuclei in young plant cells. And then Schwann, who studied animal cells, saw nuclei in developing animal tissues. So together they came together and they proposed that, all organisms have one or more cells, and cells are the basic unit of all organisms. Now we're going to talk about Virchow. So he observed that cells dividing from multicellular organisms. That's what he observed, and he developed the cell theory. So he added on, and he came out and said that all cells come from other pre-existing cells. And finally, the modern cell theory. So what our cell theory is now is just one, all organisms are composed of one or more cells. Two, cells are the smallest unit of life and the basic unit of life. And all cells come from pre-existing cells through the process of cell division. You can see from these images that is our cell theory now. There's only 3 things in our cell theory, but that's it. So that's it for today, and thank you so much for watching, and please like and subscribe. It would mean